Hi there, everybody. How's it going? I hope everything's going really well with everybody and you're having a good day. And you're either ending your summer or having the kids go back to school if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, at least in the United States anyway. And I don't know about the rest of the world, but I don't think I've got anybody who's scattered outside of the United States, but maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, you might be maybe on vacation, come to think of it. Okay, today I would like to talk about something that's, quote, impossible. Now, when you say something's impossible, I want to, in a sense, say that this is really hard to define because, in a sense, I want to say what's reasonable, but a lot of people are going to get hung up on the concept of what's reasonable. For example, I might conceivably live to 100. That's possible. It's impossible for me to go back and be 21 again. That's just no way it's going to happen. It's impossible for you to have 26 hours in the day. It's impossible for, you might, unless you have surgery or something like that, for you to lose or gain 6 inches kind of thing. But I'm thinking in terms of what's possible, basically within the confines of physics, if that makes sense. I hesitate to say what's reasonable because some people, and that's the whole purpose of what I'm talking about today, their concept of what's reasonable is going to be limiting. So I was listening to a little, I guess you could say, a podcast about something with on a question, and we go around saying most of the time, frequently, that's impossible. I can't lose 100 pounds. I can't lose 50 pounds. I can't become organized. I can't stop procrastinating. I can't stop smoking or something. It's impossible for me to do that. Those are the kinds of things I'm talking about. The key here is to ask yourself a question and to say, that's impossible unless, and then get yourself to thinking about that. What's the answer to that particular question? Now, because once we start saying something is impossible, it's impossible for me to lose 20 pounds or whatever. We'll just go with that just for the basic example here. Your mind basically shuts down and you're saying, okay, that's not happening. It's totally out of the question. There's nothing I can do about it. And you, for all practical purposes, stop thinking about it. You might continue to think about it, but you think about it in terms of the fact that you can't do it because, quote, it's impossible. The moment you turn around and say it's impossible unless, if you give yourself permission to do so, your brain will start thinking in terms of what are the things that need to change that can happen that will allow that particular issue to happen. So it's impossible for me to lose 20 pounds unless. Now, frequently, this is going to be unless I. Now, if you start saying something the effect of, it's impossible for me to lose 20 pounds unless my husband stops, doing something else or my kids do this, you can't rely on other people. You can't do anything about their behaviors. All you can do about it is your behaviors. So if you're going to say it's impossible for me to clean the house because nobody will allow me to do it, you're trying to rely on things that are based on other people's behaviors and what they're going to do. And that's just not going to happen. You should probably know that by now. You can't rely on your choices and how things are going to work out based on what other people do. The only person you can rely on is what you do or what you think. Okay? So generally, when you're saying something like, I can't, this is impossible unless I, now that's not going to be the case all the time. But if you start thinking in terms of what do you need to change? How do you need to look at something? And maybe all you need to do is look at it from a different perspective. I can't lose 20 pounds unless I change my eating habits, unless I, whatever, unless I give up something or other. So that you have to start thinking about what are those things that could happen that you could change that would make things more possible. Does this make sense? I can't stop procrastinating unless I stop watching Netflix, stop sitting on the couch. What is it? When you start thinking about those unless I issues, your brain will come up with a variety of things that are going to be somewhat useless in some cases, but somewhat they're going to be important because they're going to give you clues about the things that are keeping you from doing whatever it is that you want to do. So again, with the going back to the weight, unless I can't, it's impossible for me to lose 20 pounds unless I change my eating habits, unless I, give up sugary sodas, unless I, whatever. So that when you start thinking about those things, and then you can take a look and say, okay, do I want to do this? Do I want to give up sugary sodas? Do I want to change my eating habits? Then you're looking at those things no longer as if they're impossible. You're looking at those things as if, do you want to make those behavior changes? And that's a totally different issue. So you might end up saying, I can't lose 20 pounds because I'm not willing to make the changes that I need to make in my diet. That's a completely different statement than saying it's impossible for me to lose 20 pounds. It's also a more honest statement. You see where I'm coming from? Does this make sense? So if you want to say, I can't, it's impossible for me to do this in, a day, that somewhat goes back to a lot of whatever doing this means. If you're trying to do something that's going to, by physics, take a while to mature, pregnancy, for some reason, comes to mind. Women get to a point at which they wish that would end, but pregnancies go a certain time because of the way the baby's formed and growing. They can't just basically say, I wish it would end today and have it end today. So that, in a sense, is what I mean when it says it's within the realm of physics. Now, of course, the problem is if it ended when you wanted it to, that may not necessarily be good for the baby. But I think you understand where I'm going with this. So think in terms of what is it that you can start doing when you say, that's impossible unless. And ask yourself what those unless issues are and whether or not you want to address those to really make the change that you say you want to make. Because if you come up with a list of those things that unless I what, if you're wanting to stop smoking, I can stop. It's impossible for me to stop smoking unless I whatever. If you're not willing to do those things, then admit the fact that you're not willing to do those things and stop saying that, you can't stop smoking. It's just you don't want to. I don't want to finish this book. It's impossible for me to do this. It's impossible for me to read this material for class. Do you want to? Are you making decisions that you're going to say that are going to keep you, in a sense, make that thing impossible? Okay? So I'm hoping that this is giving you a slightly different viewpoint on how to take a look at the idea of when you say something's impossible, because more may be possible than you want it to be or that you think about it being. It's just maybe you want it to be impossible because you don't want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, at least be honest with yourself and admit the fact that you don't want to do it. Is that fair enough? So give yourself some thought about this and let me know whether you found it helpful. Maybe you want to send somebody this copy of this because they go around telling you things are impossible. But, see what you have. I would appreciate it if you send me some comments about that. So I'm hoping that this helped and we will chat with you later. Have a good day. Bye.